はい、レッスン4で、describing locations を勉強します。後ろに you can see the train map for just one company. Actually, this is just JR's trains for Tokyo and the greater Tokyo area. So you can see that asking for directions or knowing how to talk about different locations will be a pretty important thing when you do go to Japan. So the basic sentence for saying this is to say that something ga in some place ni arimasu. That's how we can say this thing is in this place. So for example, あそこに over there, マクドナルドがあります. There's a McDonald's. マクドナルドがあそこにあります. There's a McDonald's over there. いいですか? So I can also replace this thing with the question word. あそこに何がありますか? What is over there? あそこに銀行があります. There's a bank. などなど. Now that's for so-called inanimate things. That means that it is not sentient. It doesn't move around and act on its own. McDonald's doesn't just like get up and walk away. So that's why we say arimasu. But for things that are animate, in other words, things that could get up and walk away, so a person or an animal, then we say imasu, not arimasu. So, place ni, dokosoko ni, dare sore san ga imasu. 例えば、ここに here, ハリネズミがいます. There is a hedgehog. So there's a hedgehog here. ハリネズミ, I love this word. ハリネズミ, a needle rat がいます. はい、いいですか? Now, of course, I can replace the person or animal with the question word 誰 to mean, oh, ここに、あそこに誰がいますか? あそこに鈴木先生がいます. Okay, so those are our two basic sentences. We can take a brief look at the difference between arimasu and imasu. So with arimasu, we have things like, for example, pizza or tests, the Eiffel Tower, a plant or a robot. I know that in English we say, oh, a plant is a living thing, but it doesn't matter if it's alive or not. It means like it doesn't get up and walk out of the room on its own. So it can't just move on its own volition. That's, it doesn't have sentience. This is the kind of idea of arimasu. Whereas if we really highly anthropomorphize this robot, this one's still kind of like, but inu, hito, mushi, these are definitely imasu. So doesn't matter that they're kind of like small or big or cute or whatever they happen to be. If they can move around on their own, if they have sentience, then they are imasu versus arimasu. Okay. Now, I can actually move around the parts of the sentence, right? So remember, if I have the particles correct and I attach them to the correct thing, I can in principle move them around. But they actually just have slightly different emphases. So here, if I say, for example, どこそこに何々があります, then what I'm talking about is the place, and then I specify what's in that place. I'm questioning what's there. Whereas, I can say it this way. 何々はどこそこにあります to mean, okay, I have something in mind and I'm asking where is it? Where is it? So in this case, I'm sort of emphasizing the fact that I don't know where it is, or I'm saying, okay, for this thing, we all know that we're talking about this thing. What location is it? I'm going to specify its location. Now, notice that we usually say ga in this position, and we usually say wa in the other position. You could also replace ni arimasu with des in this case, and that's the one that the textbook teaches you. So we can say nani nani wa, whatever, watashi no hon wa koko desu. My book is here, or is in this location. Both of them work just totally fine. We don't use ni with des. That's just not a thing. Now, could we, instead of wa here, could we still say ga? We could say ginko ga soko ni arimasu. The bank is over there, yes. But that sounds like the answer to the question, what's over there? So, あそこに何がありますか? Or, ここに何がありますか? What's here? And then, そこに銀行があります. Or, 銀行がそこにあります. So, we could say with ga, it's like, oh, what's over there is a bank. Whereas, 銀行は, I'm saying, well, the bank is over there. And then, そこに. So, very, very similar sentences, but for right now, just know that if I say 何々があります together as a set, then it's going to be ga. but I can put the thing that I'm describing at the beginning of the sentence, in which case I tend to use wa to put it there. Both are grammatical, but this is far and away the more common pattern. All right. Now, I can use a little bit more than just to say that they are at the library. I can actually add on to this explanation. So I can say the teacher is at the library now. 今、先生は図書館にいます。図書館にいます。But I could say in front of the library and add more information to this. So 今、先生は図書館の前にいます。図書館の前にいます。Or to the left of the library, 図書館の左にいます. Or behind the library, 図書館の後ろにいます. And so on and so forth, with all of our preposition words, our location words that are on page 106 in the textbook. So, for example, next to the library, there's a coffee shop. 図書館の隣に喫茶店があります. And notice that here, because I said the ni thing first, then this one will almost always be ga, so 喫茶店があります. Versus here, 先生は、図書館の前にいます. Okay. Now, I can do this for あります as well. So, for example, the teacher is in front of the library now. We've done this one. I can replace います with です, in which case I don't need ni anymore, right? I don't use ni together with です. So, 今、先生は図書館の前にいます is fine. But I could also equally say, 今、先生は図書館の前です. For a person, the first one is a more common sentence, but I can just as easily say this second one. Same thing for here. For あります, so the ball is above the net. ボールはネットの上にあります. Or ネットの上です. And both of them work just as well. So ボールはネットの上にあります. ボールはネットの上です. Okay. Now, one other construction that we can use with あります or います is to say that you or somebody has something. So in essence, this is somebody exists, or somebody or something exists to me, is to say I have this. So, for example, if I say このコンビニには, so in this convenience store, ATM があります. ATM がありますか? Now, I could read this in either way in English. I could translate this to mean, okay, is there an ATM in this convenience store? Or I could equally say, does this convenience store have an ATM? So both of those are perfectly fine translations of this sentence. So, このコンビニには ATM がありますか? Is there an ATM in this convenience store? Or does this convenience store have an ATM? That's totally fine. はい、これはどうですか? 田中さんはいいコンピュータがあります. 田中さんはいいコンピュータがあります. So in this case, we wouldn't say something like, is there, or there is a good computer to Tanaka-san. We would probably just say, okay, Tanaka-san has a good computer. Tanaka-san has a good computer. So we can use this 誰それさんは何々があります to mean that they have something, or that they don't have something with ありません. So, with います, we have 田中さんは恋人がいますか? 恋人 is a partner. So it could be either a boyfriend or a girlfriend. 田中さんは恋人がいますか means, does Tanaka-san have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Does Tanaka-san have a partner? いいですか? So, very useful expression. And our last one is to try and separate out ni and de. So before, in our last lesson, we basically had no choice for either ni or de. It depended on the verb that we were using. So if we used ikimasu or kimasu, kaerimasu to go somewhere, then it was always ni. And if it was a verb of doing something, like benkyou shimasu, then it was always dokosoko de. Well, with arimasu, we can actually use either. It depends on what we mean. When I use ni, dokosoko ni arimasu, I mean that's where something is. Whereas if I say nani nani ga dokosoko de arimasu, I mean that's where something happens. I never say this with time. Time is always still ni, but I can say, okay, for example, 図書館に映画があります just means the physical movie, the DVD itself, is in the library. But I could say 図書館で映画があります to mean there's a movie event, there's a movie screening at the library. So something is happening at the library versus something is located in the library for に. So to just be in a place, どこそこにあります versus to happen at a place, 図書館で映画があります. Okay. So last, we have a couple 例文 example sentences. はい。読んでください. You can pause the video here to see if you can figure out what these mean in English, and then I'll explain what these are. So, 金曜日にうちでパーティーがあります。来ませんか？そのアパート、the apartment、そのアパートには洗濯機、これは洗濯機です。laundry machine。はい。そのアパートには洗濯機がありません。or、ジムに人がたくさんいました。ジム、at the gym、ジムに人がたくさんいました。はい。英語で何ですか？はい。There's going to be a party at my house on Friday. So, 金曜日にうちで where this party is located, パーティーがあります。来ませんか？ Do you want to come? That apartment, そのアパートには洗濯機がありません。Doesn't have a laundry machine. で、ジムに人がたくさんいました。There were いました。There were a lot of people at the gym. 人がたくさんいました。はい。では、一緒に使ってください。